And we like to have a little music and then do a little talking and get people motivated about the common good. So if you know this one from back in the 60s, sing along. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there. He's telling me I've got to beware. Think it's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right when everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, getting so much resistance from behind. Think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 10,000 people in the streets, singing songs and carrying signs. They mostly say hooray for my side. Think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man coming and take you away. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Missed the jump start. Hey, my name's Doug Padgett, Dan Dietrich, as he said. Rob, Nick, Tim's coming down. We've been jump starting little meetings like this all over the country for the last 4 years, actually. Traveling around trying to ask everybody, but especially faith voters, to make the common good their voting criteria. Now, on most given days, we say to ourselves, to our opinion, if you want to vote for the common good, you should vote for a Democrat. But for a lot of faith voters, they don't think that way. Sometimes they feel that their faith identity got tied in with a Republican voting identity, and they're not sure how to pull them apart. It's like they ordered the number 2 at Wendy's, and it just came with the fries. But every once in a while, they think, maybe I'll swap it out for a salad. So we try to help people do that. We try to help people separate those identities so they feel the freedom. Now, there might be an occasion where someone says, thanks for the offer, but no thank you. And we're not here to change anyone's mind. We're here to encourage the people whose minds have already changed. But now we have a second agenda to our wake up, speak up, and stand up world, and that is to stop Christian nationalism and candidates that support insurrections. Amen. I never thought I'd have to travel the country as an evangelical pastor trying to say to other church leaders, let's have a training on the threat of Christian nationalism that fueled and funded the imagination behind the insurrection into our United States Capitol. But that's what we're doing. Partly that's why we're in town. On Tuesday, we're going to be up in Cincinnati holding one of those trainings. If you're interested, we'd love to have you join us. But that's the kind of work that we do. And we're so glad to be here because we get to introduce candidates and we get to introduce important topics to people that watch us online, to people that show up. And frankly, we get to make a bunch of friends because it's lonely driving around the country. We sleep in that bus, we eat in that bus, we use that bus as a backdrop. We had to send the bus back to Nashville to get fixed. Like, there's just a lot going on when you're living in a bus. But there's a lot going on in our country. Our little wake up, speak up, stand up message, it's really important. And we really appreciate that you're all out here. We're not afraid to tell people we woke up. It's morning in America. It's time to wake up to what's going on in America, right? That's something. Thank you. That is an applause line. We'll take that applause. That's awesome. And we're not afraid to say it's time to speak up. And every one of you that are willing to be out here speaking up, thank you. Thank you for running for office. Thank you for your courage to tell people about issues that matter. Thank you for running for office. You're going to hear from a few other faith leaders that speak up all the time. And a lot of us are taught as pastors to speak in churches. And that's hard to do. It's hard work. It's good work. It's what we do. Thank you for the privilege of doing it there at Union Presbyterian today. But when you get out on a street corner and you get out here and people are driving around and you talk to people who want to listen to you or people that don't want to listen to you, that's also important work. So really glad that you're part of all this. We're going to ask you before you go, if you're into faith, hope, and love and not insurrections and Christian nationalism, to put your name on the bus because we want to take you with us and want you to sign that bus. So we're interested in you doing that. Lisa, would you come up, Reverend Lisa, would you come up first and share a few things about what brings you out here today? Thank you. You might already know Reverend Lisa, but we've become fast friends in the last couple of days.
Thank you. I was going to say, that's way above my pay grade. I'm Lisa Stenner, and I'm the pastor at Union Presbyterian Church. And I never imagined when we moved here 10 years ago that Union, Kentucky would be such a little hotbed of interesting diversity and controversy on occasion. And what has really spurred my involvement in the public sphere lately has been the Fairness Ordinance and the idea that all of God's creatures are worthy of respect. And I didn't wear it today, but I have a great shirt that says, equal rights is not like pie. If you get some, it doesn't mean any less for me. And that's how it works. And it is so important that to recognize that we have neighbors, brothers and sisters, co-workers, friends, all the things that because of the action our city chose to take, and it's coming back around, and I'm confident that the outcome will be different. But there were people who felt like they were no longer welcome here, that their families weren't valid, that the way God then made them, something was wrong with them. And so in the meeting, after the meeting in the parking lot, the night that the vote was taken, there was a couple. One was very emotional and one was so angry he was vibrating. And he said, "You've just said you don't want us here. Our family's not important to you." And I told him who I was. I was a pastor down the street, and I said, you are valuable. You are a beloved child of God. You are important. You are our neighbor." And he looked at me without flinching and said, "If you believe that, you better show up." And so it's not enough to sit in a pew or in a seat or to have conversations around the meal table and silently acquiesce to this idea that fairness is real and everybody should be treated fairly and there's poor behavior that needs to be called out and there needs to be accountability, that silence is in itself consent. And so I think there has been a vast majority of folks that would identify themselves in the middle that have been silent for a really long time. And what would happen if we didn't live in fear of that, but if we harnessed our voices together and in each of our little sphere of influence spoke up a little more and then found out, oh yeah, I want to too, but I was afraid. Or, oh yeah, I feel that way too, but I was afraid that I would offend somebody. And say, you know what? We're here and we're here for, again, the common good. And as Doug said to us this morning, what is good for all of us is good for all of us. What makes us good makes us all good. And so we have not only, I would say, a responsibility in this country, but also an incredible privilege. Because the fact that we are gathered here in this space, let's be clear, we all have privilege. And so do we use it to pat ourselves on the back and not offend other people? Or do we use it on behalf of the whole good and work for the good that includes us as well? So that's what brought me here.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dan Covalli. I'm with the Bulletsville Christian Church over on Petersburg Road, and I was asked to maybe just give a couple brief comments, which is a tall order for us clergy people, but give a couple brief comments on why my church is standing in solidarity with Union Pres to act as co-sponsors for this event today, and why we think it's important to be vibrant and very visible counterbalances to what is going on. I think I had heard Doug, by the way, I'm a big fan of your work too, by the way, but to echo what Reverend Lisa had said, like, if somebody had told me 5 or 10 years ago this is where we would be, I would say that's just not going to happen. There's no way. But I was saying that we had to come up with a term to describe my church, again, that I never thought I'd be using, and that is we are a science-affirming church, which I think would be a redundant thing to say, but we affirm science. But now we have to say that. And another reason why I'm here is, well, I'll give you an example. I'm an avid disc golfer. Thanks for holding your applause. But in front of the church, we have several disc golf baskets, and I'm out yesterday working on my putt, which is immaculate, by the way, and a car pulls in, and they don't see me. Their windows are down, and they said, oh my God, of all the places to turn around, he brought me to the gay place, because there's a pride flag out there. And one of our youths who's been bullied, has medical problems, been bullied at school, found a garden flag that said safe space with a rainbow on it. He bought that with his own money and brought it to the church. So I put it out there. And so as this car is peeling out of the church parking lot, laughing at the rainbow flag and mocking, safe space, what's that all about? I thought to myself, well, the reason why we're co-sponsoring this, and the reason why I'm here, and the reason why Reverend Lisa and Doug and all of us are here is because this is our reality now, and this is what we live in. And I like what Reverend Lisa said about acquiescence. Like, if you're not an active agent of change, if you're not vocal and out loud about, like, trying to be a counterbalance to some of these things I'm talking about, then you really are part of the problem. Then you really are complacent. So I feel being here is important as a community of faith leader. I think it's important for all of us to know that we are not alone, that it is hard, but we can look around and see support to the right and to the left of us, and that's an amen moment for me. And just to close briefly, I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to get to speak and provide safe spaces and provide a place that some might mock, but I know is sorely needed in this good creation. So thank you for having me here. Doug, thank you for having me. Union Pres, love you guys.
This is a song that reminds us that no one is free until all of us are free.
Amen.
And if you pick it up by the end, feel free to sing along. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe. Despite brutality, I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. So let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see, we'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love dares us to see, we'll all be free.
My name is Rob Ryerson. I'm a pastor from Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I'm in this point in my life now where when people ask me, like, what are you up to? What are you doing? What's been going on? My son called me about a half an hour ago before we got started. He was like, Dad, what have you been up to? How, what's going on? And my answer lately has been, just trying to save democracy. That's all.
Amen.
That's all. I mean, it feels like the stakes are really high right now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like there is so much on the line, that, like, there are really big problems and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. You ever feel a little overwhelmed by it? You ever feel like it's too big, it's too much? You ever feel like the change just isn't gonna come? There's different kind of theories of change, of how change happens. Some people, when they talk about change, they'll talk about like wholesale change, where you just change everything all at once. If you're gonna remodel, you don't just move the pictures around. You change everything. You paint the walls and new carpet, and you move the furniture. It's wholesale change. You're changing everything. that sounds like a great idea, but can't imagine that actually happening in our country at this point, right? So there's other people who think about change, and they think about incremental change. Gonna take steps in the right direction. Gonna start moving the way we want to go, and hopefully, eventually, someday we'll get there. And incremental change is good because it gets you moving in the right direction. But the challenge is, so often it feels like it never happens, right? There's this stuff that we need and this change that we need, and it feels like we're just never gonna actually get there. There's a third kind of change, theory of change that has really kind of captured my attention, my imagination. It's called acupunctural interventions. Acupunctural interventions, like acupuncture, where one little prick can make a big difference. One little needle can change a whole body's experience. One small little thing done in the right way, at the right time, in the right place, can make a world of difference. And I don't know about you, but that's the kind of change that actually excites me. Because when I look at like these big problems that we've got, I'm like, I could do something small. I could do my little thing. I could get on a bus and drive around the country and talk to folks about how important it is to be involved. So here's what I want to tell you today. Whatever your thing to do is, no matter how big or how little it is, whatever your thing to do is, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. Because you never know what huge difference it could make. Now, I'm a pastor, and I try to make sense of life through like the biblical story and stories in the Bible, and all throughout the Bible there's this thread that runs through it about little things that make a big difference, like 5 little stones that knock down a giant, just a few loaves of bread and some fish that fed a multitude, a little baby that changed the world. Like, it's the whole thing, like these little things that can make a big difference. So it might be donating to a campaign, and you say, oh, I don't have enough money to max out to a campaign. I know. Whatever you can do, you've got to do that thing. Maybe it's knocking on doors, making some phone calls, sending some texts, whatever it might be. Talking to your neighbors, making sure that you vote, making sure that you take 42 friends with you to vote on election day. Whatever that thing is for you to do, you've got to do it. And don't worry about how big or how small it is. Just do your thing. Now, what's really exciting is that some of you, as you've thought about, okay, what am I going to do? What do I do? Some of you have said, you know what my thing to do is? I'm going to run for office.
Yeah.
Now, I would love for all of you to consider that at some point, because it's quite an experience. And so really excited to introduce some folks to you that are running for office. Now, Brian's running. Doesn't want to talk because it's not a competitive race. You're just cruising to victory here, Brian. Tell us who you are and what you're running for.
You want me to hold it or you hold
Nah,
it?
I got it.
I'm Brian Garner. I'm running again for City Commission in the City of Union. There's only 4 of us running for 4 spots, so quite an easy one. But there's still time for some scandals to come out. But I got into politics. Basically, I've lived here since I was 3 years old. I am an anomaly. I was born and raised very conservative, but I am very socially liberal. So basically what I'm trying to do is I just need to get that socially liberal part established in Boone County, Northern Kentucky, because the values that I was raised on was, loving kindness, compassion, stuff like that, and all of those things just seem to be missing from politics these days.
Yeah, that's great, Brian. Thank you so much for that. Tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you're running for.
My name's John Starling. I'm a retired public servant of 25 and a half years. Lived in Florence almost that entire time. Grew up in Erlanger. I found out that the mayor was retiring and that Dr. Abishon was going to take her spot, or attempt to take her spot through the election. So I decided, why not try to serve the public again? I mean, I did it for 25 and a half years, so let's do it again. I liked it. It was fun.
That's excellent. So you're running for city council.
Correct.
What does a city council person do? Like, what's the job exactly? I mean, most of us, we cast these ballots and we have no idea what folks actually do. What is the job exactly that you're, what would you do as a city council person?
Basically, I don't really have one issue or anything. The pool was a big reason why I decided to start getting involved, but it's not that one. I really respect the people that did get involved for that. But it's issues like that, if the public has an opinion about something, if they're worried about the way their money's spent, if they're just worried about the infrastructure of the city, if they want better parks, anything like that. I just enjoy listening to people and trying to solve problems that involve the community.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great.
Claire Laporte, and I'm the representative for the southwestern region of Ohio for the Poor People's Campaign. I just happen to live in Kentucky, so the Poor People's Campaign represents 140 million low and underpaid waged workers, people who have been oppressed, who've been put in communities that are redlined, who are battling various ills that society piles upon them. In Kentucky alone, we have more than 15,000 foster kids who are awaiting care. We have one of the highest poverty rates for children in the country, not just this region. And once they stop the subsidies for the children under the COVID Act, the kids that were lifted out of poverty were dropped right back down. So we are an organization that was founded originally by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Jr.
You're going back
And that's the original campaign. And then it was started again on the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King by Reverend William Barber. He went around the country for 2 years and collected data and found out that we are now worse off than when Reverend King was fighting for civil rights in the 60s. We're worse off today. So if we don't stand up for our rights and an equitable distribution of the funds that this country puts out and give back to the people who actually pay those taxes, we're in a lot of trouble. So you can join any campaign. We are not an organization. We are very political. We are not partisan. And I should say Reverend Barber is coming to this area on October 24th. He's speaking for the Taft Lecture Series at the Cintas Center. So if you want to go to poorpeoplescampaign.org, you can register for a free ticket and come and watch our one of today's civil rights leaders speak in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the League of Women Voters, and particularly about Amendment 2.
I'm Jennifer Fitch. I'm with the League of Women Voters of Kentucky. We have a Northern Kentucky chapter. We'd love to have any of you. I'll do a little membership drive here. But the League is a nonpartisan organization, but we do take a stance on issues. And an issue that we have taken a strong stance on in this cycle is Amendment 2. Please vote no on 2, whether you are pro-choice or pro-life. Amending the Constitution of the state of Kentucky to outlaw all abortion has repercussions that are much broader than just pregnant teens. Vote no on 2. The League has a very strong position on this.
In Amendment 2, there's no exceptions included.
0 exceptions. The text of the amendment is all abortion is illegal in the state of Kentucky. That is fertility treatment. That is certain types of birth control. That is children who, there were 15 children under the age of 15 in the state of Kentucky last year who were impregnated by a relative. They won't be able to have those pregnancies terminated in the state if this passes. Keep that in mind.
Wow, really important stuff. Are there, so Amendment 2, obviously, super important issue. Any other like key issues or things that the League of Women Voters is focused on for November?
We also actually have, as of yesterday's board meeting, made the decision to take a stance of no on Amendment 1, which is also amending the state constitution and upturning the balance of power in the state. It would allow the legislature to call themselves into session at will. Currently, the governor has to call them into session, and there are a lot of other fine points in that really are very troubling. And then also want to invite everybody to visit our site, Vote 411. The League is part of a national organization, of course. League of Women Voters US has a site called Vote 411. At any jurisdiction that populates that site, you can put in your address, and you can get nonpartisan information on all races and issues on your ballot. And even create a little ballot online that you can print out and take to the polls with you.
Great.
So please take a look at that.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey y'all, so Kentuckians for the Commonwealth is a grassroots justice organization. Started in 1981 in the coal fields of eastern Kentucky. 40 people came together, called themselves a statewide organization. Today it's true. We've got chapters from Covington to Corbin, Louisville to Louisa, Pikeville to Paducah. We're working everywhere. When I first got involved with KFTC, it was around our election work, around restoration of voting rights for people with felonies. Kentucky's one of 2 states where a person with a felony can't vote for the rest of their life unless they get a special partial pardon. This governor's changed that to if your felony was in Kentucky, you most likely got your rights back, but maybe not. We've got the information to figure that out. You visit KentuckyElection.org, see who's on your ballot, see if they responded to our survey. We surveyed judges' races for the first time, including the Supreme Court here in Northern Kentucky. That's going to be contested. We'd love for you to sign a petition for fairness to protect our LGBTQ siblings from discrimination in housing, public accommodation, and in the workplace. We'd love for you to sign the petition and volunteer with us to help make sure that every person has the right to vote regardless of any mistakes they've made in their past. Once they're living in our community, we need to make sure they're a part of our community. And when we shut people out, it makes it harder for them to invest in themselves and invest in those around them. Yeah, we do a whole lot of other stuff. I can talk about local campaigns or statewide campaigns. Come say hey.
We'll be free.